Victor Wembanyama is officially a cheat code. Just the other night against the Utah Jazz and the Los Angeles Lakers, Victor Wembanyama became just the second player in NBA history to record 5 blocks and 5 steals in back-to-back games. The only other player to do that? Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Cheat code. Victor Wembanyama has more blocks this month than 7 entire teams. Cheat code. Victor Wembanyama leads all rookies in points, rebounds, steals, and blocks. And he leads the entire NBA in blocks. Cheat code. I mean, just think about the number of times you've seen a headline. Victor Wembanyama becomes the first player since Shaquille O'Neal, the first player since David Robinson, the first player since LeBron James, since Michael Jordan. At this point, it's become normal. Earlier in the year, I thought that the Rookie of the Year race was going to come down to a nail-biter, but I think since the new year, Victor Wembanyama has very clearly separated himself from the rest of his class. Now, I'm not one to do comparisons, especially not in the middle of the season, but I think it's safe to say that Victor Wembanyama has already established himself as a top 10 defender in the sport and one of the best rookies since the merger. So let's talk about what makes him unique as a player. Well, for starters, he's 7'4" with an 8-foot wingspan. This type of length is unheard of in basketball, and you can see offensive players really struggle figuring out how to attack Victor Wembanyama on defense. Wemby is a unique type of player, and with this length, he has the ability to not only in pick and roll guard the ball handler, but the roll man simultaneously. Teams often try to isolate an empty side of the floor to attack Wemby in pick and roll, but he's just too long and gifted that he uses his off arm to deflect pocket passes in the pick and roll. Austin Reeves gets an empty side pick and roll with Jared Vanderbilt, and it looks like a clear 2-on-1. The pocket pass is delivered, and Wemby uses that bionic arm of his to deflect the pass. Or if you try a pull-up jump shot in drop coverage, Wembanyama can close the gap faster than probably any player in the league. Sometimes it doesn't look like he's in the play, but then his quick reaction time and long arms can disturb what looks like a routine shot. Wemby has phenomenal defensive instincts that are ahead of his age. You can see his spidey senses tingling when he senses his teammates get beat, and he also is timely with rotations to alter shots that don't look possible. The amount of times that I've seen Wemby block shots from within the restricted area is a testament to how his length can really bother players. I mean, just look at this play from earlier in the season against the Hornets. LaMelo goes up for a laydown pass after Wemby jumps, yet he turns around and is still able to block the shot in one motion. I mean, come on now. There's a reason why he leads the league in blocks. This type of defensive awareness and instincts are something that only the best of the best ever possess. I mean, if you're Donovan Mitchell here, what do you even do? You have the opportunity to take a floater, but not really because Wemby has the speed and recovery to contest that shot. So he opts for the laydown pass, and Wemby's long arm at the law denies it. Now, we'll get to the ridiculous blocks in a minute, but this type of defensive length and awareness has caused defenders to almost run away from Wemby at times. Jimmy Butler has an easy lane to the basket, but once he sees Wemby, opts wisely and chooses to kick it to the corner. This is the ultimate sign of defensive respect, and it's something that only the best defenders in the league have. Guys like Evan Mobley, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo, and Nick Claxton, just to name a few. But you can very easily add Wemby to that list because he has his fair share of compilation highlights where guys say, nah, I don't want any part of that. Here's a chart highlighting Victor Wembanyama's shot defense profile this season. As you can see, teams don't really like to try him in the paint like that. Teams are only shooting 60% there, which is already a very low number. But look at that compared to when he's off the floor. Teams are shooting almost 2% higher, but that's not the big part to notice. Look at the frequency. 46% of teams' shots are within the extended restricted area when Wemby's on the bench, but when Wemby's on the floor, that number goes down to 40.7%. A 6% decrease is a highlight and testimony to teams not wanting to try Wemby when he's down low. Teams are shooting almost 4% lower on twos altogether, and the Spurs are almost 6 points better on defense when Wemby's on the floor. Now, it would be perfect if Wemby could just play the entire game, but we know it doesn't work like that. The Spurs have really been trying to monitor his minutes after coming back from a short injury, and it looks like, given that they're in rebuild, that we probably won't see Wemby routinely crack 35 minutes a night this year. But that shouldn't take away from his all-defensive case, which I think is almost all but certain this year. Now let's get to these blocks, and bear with me because there's a ton. Let's start with this absolutely ridiculous 360 block on the Washington Wizards. Notice how he's in a deep drop and somehow spins his body around completely and is able to locate the ball in mid-air for this block. Did I mention he was an alien? Or how about this one? The Spurs show 2 on the ball here, so Bruce Brown makes the beautiful slip pass to a cutting Scotty Barnes, and Wemby comes out of nowhere and blocks a shot that looks like an easy dunk. And even Scotty Barnes looks at the referee like, what just happened? This play highlights both Wemby's rim protection and rim deterrence in the same play. De'Aaron Fox gets downhill off this spread pick and roll, but he sees Wemby lurking and decides wisely to dump it off to Alex Len, who tries to dunk himself, which of course gets rejected. I genuinely want to know what Max Christie was doing on this play, because why would a 6'5" guard think they can put this guy on a poster? I think this play against the Raptors really highlights his off-ball value, because you will almost never see someone both simultaneously tag the roller with his foot in the paint and still close out to block a shot in the corner. This speed and recovery time is legitimately insane. A 7-footer should not have the ability to make a closeout this quickly, yet somehow anything's possible for Wemby. Maxey and Embiid are one of the 3 most deadly pick-and-roll tandems this season, so Wemby, knowing this, has to play both of them at the same time. He contains the action perfectly, only to turn around and block a cutting Oubre. Now that's the definition of putting the team on your back.
Dog, he put the team on his back.
But maybe his best block of the entire season came the other day against Utah. Wemby pokes the ball free from John Collins in isolation, only for him to lose it again. John Collins goes up for an uncontested layup and Wemby chases it down from behind and blocks it with his fingertips. And if you look at the replay closely, it looks like this ball is almost over the cylinder. How on earth did he block this one? Of course, his most iconic play was probably the block on the Greek Freak. Late in the fourth quarter, Giannis lowers his shoulder, which creates enough space for a dunk until Wemby rises up and makes another spectacular block. As a rookie, Wemby ranks top 10 in almost every defensive metric we have so far, 3rd in defensive LeBron, and 7th in defensive EPM. If I had a ballot, he would very easily be first team all defense for me. But let's talk about the offensive side really quickly, because that seems to be forgotten in this slew of impressive defensive performances. Wemby's averaging almost 26 points on -1.5 efficiency. Earlier in the year, his shot selection really drug down those efficiency numbers. In addition, not having a point guard in the starting lineup and playing him at power forward also caused these numbers to dip. But since he's been the full-time starting center and has had Trey Jones with him, every single game he's slowly figured out his rhythm, and he's cut out the sort of ill-advised shots that plagued his efficiency numbers. By my estimation, I think he's pretty clearly one of the 7 best passing big men in the league, and every night you're bound to see one bizarre or spectacular pass that highlights his great court awareness and anticipation. Take this brilliant Wemby play, for example, where he back cuts and draws 2 defenders with him. The pass is a little bit too high, so he touch passes it to a rolling teammate. Or take this play, for example, where he gets the ball in the low block and he finds a cutting Devin Vassell right in motion. Guys like Bam Adebayo and Domantas Sabonis have made a living on these passes to movement shooters. So for Wemby to be accurate and aware of these passes so early in his career is definitely a good sign. Wembanyama is already one of the best rim finishers in the game. He's shooting 73%, which is in the 85th percentile in the entire league on almost 7 attempts a game. His height makes it almost impossible for anyone to really contest these shots, so I think as he gets older and puts on a little more strength, his numbers will probably go up even more. I definitely think there's room for improvement for Wembanyama. I would love to see him improve his mid-range efficiency given that he takes a lot of shots there. And given that it's likely he'll play center for the foreseeable future, I'd love to see him put on some more weight to handle bigger players that like to take him down to the post. Joel Embiid had his career night and seemed to get any low post position he wanted on him, but I think that'll come with time. But maybe the most under-discussed aspect of Wemby's game is his off-ball gravity. Because he presents such a big target rolling to the rim, guys will often double and triple team him rolling to the basket, which leads to open shots for his teammates. These plays don't always register as assists or even potential assists, but they pay dividends for his team's offense. Take this play late in the game against the Wizards, where Wemby simply by rolling to the basket draws 2 defenders and leads to an open Jeremy Sohan 3. This type of post gravity reminds me of all-time great interior scorers like Joel Embiid and Shaquille O'Neal. And while it may be premature to put Wemby in those conversations all time, his rookie season is already one for the history books, and sooner than later his name will come up in these all-time conversations. But for now, let's just take a minute to appreciate greatness, because what Wemby is doing is not normal and will likely not be seen again. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you've made it to the end, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what other videos you'd like to see. Make sure you turn on your post notifications so you never miss a video. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you in the next one.